It's fluid in my profession. It's not like, say, a funeral director, undertaker. There's different steps you go through. In my profession, you may encounter death without even being able to prepare for it, because you may be in a situation where you're thrust into it and it happens to occur in your presence. If you're going to a scene where you know someone's deceased, then you try to shut off your emotions. It's the easiest way to deal with it. None of us started out that way. The job kind of turns you into the cynical, detached, numb person that you become after dealing with it for so many years. Again, because it's a different thing that we deal with than say, the normal person. Emergency responders, trauma doctors, et cetera, deal with things in the moment. We've all dealt with death. If you go to a funeral, you've dealt with death. We just see it raw. The dead say nothing and everything all at one time. So the way you cope with the violence that you see, or the tragedy that you see, is you become numb. Otherwise, you just can't do your job. That's why we seem cynical. It's how we cope with it. It's also why we have a huge amount of suicide and alcohol and drug abuse in emergency professions, because that's how some people cope with it, because they can't cope with it. And the most tragic part is dealing with the families. That's the when you're dead, you're a piece of meat. That's what you become. That's all you are. But you're dealing with the families and the tragedy of losing someone, and that's where it's tough to not feel the emotion, because you're dealing with their immediate grief. If that makes any sense. Absolutely. Whether it's on purpose or because we shelter ourselves, I don't know. The finality of death, people have a hard time dealing with, which is why they don't like to think about it. I think that people have a hard time realizing that they're in the world for a very short period of time, and their existence, while fleeting, they like to think that there's more to it, possibly, and the finality of death and the short span that we're here, I think, is too much for a lot of people to bear. Their insignificance in the whole scheme of things.